Well, these are two more HS2 sites with a great deal of absolutely bugger all going on. If you come past here at night, you'll find them lit up like electricity's going out of fashion. And what this site is going to be, if anything ever happens on it, it used to be John Lewis warehouse, but what this site is going to be is from the tunnel all the way to Euston. They're going to bring out the soil at a compound we'll get to later. They're then going to run it on like a mine cart along the existing railway, and then they're going to sort it here. Not do anything sensible like, you know, get it out on rail to somewhere where land prices aren't quite so expensive. And it's just a great example of that. This is all one giant land grab, because you can see over there behind me, those developments have gone up in the last couple of years. They are all sort of clustered around North Acton station, and this is the thing. This is an industrial area. You can see there's still factories over there that if HS2 opens here, the land price of those are going to rocket, and you're going to get more towers. And that's part of what this is about. It's mainly what this is about. It's one giant land grab to change what is an industrial landscape over there into that, and make a lot of money in the process. This is Wells House Road, and a triangular road, which is quite unusual, and you may hear the dulcet tones of HS2 banging about because we're almost at the Old Oak Common station site. And what's happened since HS2 have started their drilling and banging and general boreholiness is cracks have started appearing in these buildings. A footpath that's in a cutting has had to be closed because it looked like it was going to collapse. And brilliantly, the houses that back on here, see, this is at the end of Wells House Road, they are, and the houses here that back on, they've been told, oh yeah, you can have double glazing for your back windows, but obviously not your front because sound doesn't go round. And the houses on the other side of the road that still face the construction site, but you know, are on the, and there are obviously gaps between these houses. They can't have double glazing either. And one woman said, "Oh, I've got a cat, and can I have a?" "Oh no, what we'll do is put a cat flap in your wall." I said, "No, I want it in the door." And they did that, and you know, triple glazed or whatever. And afterwards they said, "But don't tell anyone else we paid for this for you. You know, don't want anyone else knowing what they're actually entitled to." Anyway, the thing was that when HS2 started work here, the very first thing they were meant to do, the very first thing before they started banging about and digging, was replace this wall. Because, you know, I've been told what it's made of, I can't remember. But look, it's you can just touch it till you just picked a random spot, and it's just coming apart. There are places at the top where, you know, it's being held together with the vegetation, quite frankly. And obviously there's houses up on the top of there. This is basically a giant cliff. And bet that bit's all right. Oh yeah. So there's just anywhere you can touch this, and here we go. Just falls apart. And of course, the vibrations that HS2 are causing over there has made this worse. See, just look at that. And what their reaction to this is, oh, we'll just close the footpath so that if and when it does collapse and takes all the houses with it, you know, at least it won't kill anyone on the footpath when it comes down. Here we go, just an example. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, it just comes off in your hand. Yeah. In case you didn't know, this is Wormwood Scrubs. Not the Wormwood Scrubs where the HS2 management should be, not the prison, the actual scrubs. And yeah, I didn't expect this. Well, I didn't expect it to be like this, is what I should say. I don't think the dog did either. You were expecting concrete all day, weren't you, girl? Wee Eevee, good dog. Go on then. Yeah, let's run. Well, there you go. That sign says that there are 2 surviving populations of hedgehogs in the entire of central London. They're both here in Regent's Park. One is here very specifically in London Zoo's car park, or at least it was. I think the sign needs updating a bit now because yeah, guess who's taken the car park? And guess who? Well, apparently they've dealt with the hedgehogs, and they're all fine living wherever it is that they're living now. Yeah, we all believe that, don't we? Shit. Yeah, okay. I think we'll leave that one. Another retaining wall that HS2 Limited seem to be having a massive problem with is this one. All right, looks a bit small from this side, but on the other side there is a sheer drop into the approach tracks into Euston Station. You know, if you've been into Euston, you'll see the big old purple walls either side just short of the station. Well, that's what that is on the other side. Now, the issue is that in 2013, HS2 Limited wrote to the residents, in fact, specifically the one who lives there, and said, yeah, you know what, you're right, there is significant concern about the retaining wall. It doesn't look like it's going to stand up to the pressures that we're going to put it under. We will replace it. And brilliant. Problem is, now 6 years later they're saying, no, we're not going to replace it. What we're going to do is we're going to tunnel directly under it. So after saying that the wall was not structurally unsound, but in danger of collapse if the work happened nearby it, they're now saying, yeah, who cares? Who cares? You know what? It was in a bit of danger. What we're going to do now is we're going to tunnel directly underneath it, and we're really going to see if the whole thing can collapse. Hopefully I'll pick it up here. I don't know, is it there? Yeah, that thing. Please say that works. This is the Regent's Park estate, or at least part of it. Social housing built really well in the 50s, a land fit for heroes. And yeah, well, these bits are coming down because HS2 is going next to the West Coast Main Line, and those are next to the West Coast Main Line. So Camden losing loads of social housing that it can't really afford to. Some replacement flats being built. Over there you can see one of those brown ones sticking out at the top there. Obviously taller than the original ones, which is the whole point about these being, you know, pretty good because they weren't massive high rises. And of course over here we got a little quirk there. That is something again that sums up HS2 Limited perfectly. That is a building that when HS2 was announced, developer had planning permission for that little, you know, triangle of earth by the West Coast Main Line, and they said, well, we got planning permission, will you compensate us to the value of the building if we built it? They said, no, you got to build it. So they built those houses knowing that they were going to be knocked down, because it was the only way to get the full compensation for their investment. Because HS2, oh, aren't you lovely? And the thing is, obviously, you could have compensated them less if they hadn't have had to pay out to build the thing in the first place. But no, that would be logical, wouldn't it? Behind me, you'll see two things. First, as I said previously, the buildings that have been demolished have been covered so that, you know, the brick dust and the fragments of glass aren't there in the air for the commuters to breathe in, unlike where they're demolishing the blocks on the Regent's Park estate. But obviously the residents of the Regent's Park estate aren't well, aren't as much of a concern to the people who are building HS2 as the people who hang around their station. The other thing that you'll see, or rather won't see, is the Brie Louise pub that stood on the corner there. Gutted. I missed the last day there. All trains in and out of Coventry were cancelled that day. Can't remember what it was. Not a problem that HS2 will solve. I can tell you that. But anyway, it took ages and ages. And I know that for at least, well, over almost a year, they hadn't been paid. I don't know what the situation is now. But the point was that we had a local resident here who very clearly said, you know, I've done the maths and I've looked at this properly, and you don't need to knock that down. You're not coming out that far. And of course HS2 said, no, don't be daft. Of course we need to come out that far. And of course now, they said, oh, you were right. We didn't need to demolish that building and wreck that thriving business and rip it away from the community. You were absolutely right. We should have listened to you. But hey, we've got the land now, haven't we? See, this is the most tricky bit. We're actually now at Euston Station, and as well, shall we do it? Shall I go in the front door? Shall I go in the side door? Shall I go in the side door and walk out? I don't care. I want to get to the pub. And here we are. I have made it to Euston. We have made it to Euston, haven't we, Eevee? Eevee, how do you feel? Eevee, what do you think? You don't care, do you? Right, I believe that the decent pub is this way. Well, we made it. We made it to Euston. 30 days, 400 miles, and I never felt so rushed as I do now. Because after trying forever to get her to stand still for a photo, I've now got to get on the train. Come on, hop, 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 come on. Well, I said there was plenty I could have said at Euston, but you know, it's all variations on a theme, like they cut down a load of trees for, you know, just to put the taxi rank in. I could take the film of that, I suppose. And on the other side, they still want to take the trees down. There's going to be a demonstration on the 28th of September, 1 o'clock on the concourse. Bring a tree about that. Yeah, and the fact that it's all one massive land grab, which I'm pretty sure I've said this a number of times. The other thing is that we're now, I believe, on the 5th design for Euston Station, because they're pretty much all unworkable. We still haven't got a final design. There was an idiot politician who recently said, oh, well, you know, we've gone through the pain at Euston, it'd be stupid not to go ahead. Yeah, we've gone through the pain at Euston. There's been no impact whatsoever, apart from a couple of weekend closures on rail services. You're still waiting for 17 years of construction. Sorry, no, not 17 years of construction, because the plan for HS2 is 17 years of HS2 construction at Euston, and then apparently, this is how ridiculous HS2 is. Apparently, Network Rail then have to sort out what's left of the station, and that's not included in the plan. Well, hang on, surely you do it all at once? You do it a bit quicker than 17 years, but no, that's what you're in line for. 17 years plus the Network Rail build time. So let's say 20 years, because it's going to be 20 years even on the 17, isn't it, really, of construction and disruption at Euston. All you've seen so far is taking down buildings, and they're taking them down very slowly so far. You know, I think the Office of Road and Rail.
We are now approaching Kenilworth. Please mind the
here we are.
when leaving the train, and
this is where it all started.
Before removing heavy luggage and pushchairs.
It's where we started, isn't it, Eevee? Eevee, we're back at Kenilworth Station. Do you remember when I said we're going on a big walk? Yeah. Oh, look. And this is what she's like. She's great walking, but she's got the opportunity to lie down. So the other news that happened today was that Transport Secretary Grant Shapps said that HS2 shouldn't cut down ancient woodland while the review is ongoing. Brilliant. So well done for paying attention, Grant, but unfortunately not quite paying enough attention, because he said that well, you can cut down ancient woodland if otherwise it would add too much time or too much cost to the project. And I'm just thinking, Grant, that, you know, the other week you announced that the project was, what, 5-7 years late and 20-30 billion pounds over budget. So how much could not cutting down some ancient woodland for, what, 2.5, 3 months, how much could that possibly add to the already burgeoning cost? Did you like that, the way I said cost and cross, and the dog thought I said cross? The already burgeoning cost and lateness, completely well behind scheduleness of the project. You know, really, how much could that possibly add? And you know, from, I would say, well, obviously, from not a neutral observer's point of view, but from an observer's point of view, if HS2 Limited have an opportunity to take the piss, they'll take the piss. And if you think that's being too harsh on HS2, then well done, you've got to the day 30 video and you've just not paid attention to a single word I've said. HS2 Limited is basic, it is a rogue organisation at the heart of government. And if you give them a chance to do anything, they will do it. And, you know, giving them a get-out clause on this is quite something. You've got to remember, this is an organisation that, bearing in mind, it is illegal to disturb nesting birds in this country, right? That in spring, they fenced off a compound in Colne Valley, probably a couple of thousand trees in it, and they took every single one down. How many birds? None, apparently. After every single piece of evidence had gone through a wood chipper. Not joking, that's exactly what happened. It was in their compound, no one got to see. And the idea that there wasn't a single nesting bird in any of those trees is simply beyond credibility. Hell, I found the nest that they destroyed in the middle of a central reservation of a dual carriageway. You know, it's obvious that birds nest during nesting season. And that's what they did then. So telling them, oh, you can't take down these ancient woodlands unless you really, really, really have to, is just simply going to provoke the response, oh yeah, we really, really, really have to. Of course they're going to do that. In fact, what I expect will happen is they'll actually accelerate the works to make sure that they cause as much damage as possible and spend as much money as possible, become liable for as much land as possible, because they are desperate to make sure that their gravy train is not derailed. Said over and over again, this is all about the money. It's nothing. It's not a transport project. It's a money-making project for the people who build it. On the subject of Colne Valley, we had the other bit of news today. Well, yesterday, obviously, it's obviously now it's the morning after the month before. The boat in Colne Valley. Do you remember the boat in Colne Valley from day 28? 28, 27, I don't know. It was only this week and I can't remember what day it was. From Saturday, Monday. Yeah, day 28. HS2 Limited tried to evict the boat because it's blocking the footpath, and the judge found that HS2 Limited hadn't actually closed the footpath properly. Because they're doing, again, this is another beautiful piece of incompetence from HS2 Limited, is that they seem to have realised that, yeah, you have to, you know, apply to close roads. You can't just stick up a sign and say the road's closed. But they do think you can do that with a footpath. You can just stick up and say, oh, we should close the footpath. Right, well, no, we own the land. Yeah, I'm not quite sure you understand how this works, guys. Because that's, you know, kinder trespass, right to roam, all that sort of thing. That was the point of, you know, footpaths in the first place, that landowners didn't want people on their land, and that's why they have legal protection, and that's why you can't just stick up a sign and say they're shut. It doesn't work like that. But they seem to be doing that all up and down the country, to be honest. It's not just in Herfield, but there was the one in Balsall Common where they just stuck up a fence, and the council didn't know anything about it. It seems that they're doing the same thing in Warwickshire, because we're told about notifications for Covington and Kenilworth, and it doesn't seem that there's anything with the county council. So, typical HS2, quite frankly. Anyway, you may have noticed we're home now. It's done. It's over. And just when I say we, Eevee growls on cue because a dog. Oh yes, she's missed. Oh, I've got to remind the other dogs that I'm here. This is my garden. Eevee, shut it. Come here. Anyway, yeah, that's it. So all I can say, come on, is thank you. Thank you to everyone who's helped me over the last couple of weeks, and the people who put me up, who said, "Oh, what a lovely dog! What kind of dog?" Oh, you know what? I'll tell you what. I've got so fed up of asking questions about Eevee. Say bye bye, Eevee. Bye bye, Eevee. Bye bye. Bye bye. We done it. The campaign goes on, at least for now. It's make or break time. Let go. Shoot. Woof. Bye bye.